Welcome back to season 3 of No Longer Afraid, friends. We're kickstarting this thing only because I don't know how this man decided to join me on this adventure.
I can't believe I'm here.
Honestly,
I know I said that to you when I walked in the house, but I'm serious.
Carter Howard himself is sitting in my living room, ready to have a conversation about all the fears that he's faced in his lifetime.
Yeah, so many. So many.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Should we get started?
I would love to.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So give me your bio.
Okay. And, bio, just about me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my name is Carter, and I live in Ventura, from the Pacific Northwest, though.
Praise God.
I've been in Ventura for 8 years, though, pretty much because of your husband.
Okay.
And because of him, my life is what it is now. I mean, I never thought I'd be in California.
And I am one with him. So
you're one with him. So
because
of you guys, because of you. Yeah. And you know what? Your last question that you sent me, who I would want to have dinner with, the two people.
Yeah.
You and Vic.
Aww. This is why I brought him here, guys.
Yeah. No, I probably like Tom Brady. Tom Brady and Bob Goff.
Did you just say Bob Goff?
Yeah.
That's literally one of the people that I had on my list.
Yeah, no, I think he and a few Philadelphia Eagles players, I would fangirl over. I think that would actually happen, where I would freak out a little bit, get nervous.
I'm here for it.
I didn't call him for the longest time because I was so nervous to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, but anyways, been in Ventura for the last 8 years and just involved with the city church, doing everything that I can to help them out with the youth group and the kids ministry and teaching at the college. So I've been teaching at the college for the last 6 years because your husband asked me to teach the speech class, and it awakened a love and a passion inside of me for communication.
Well, you're kind of a unicorn.
Wow.
You're a rare find.
Thank you.
You step into a room and people want to be around you.
Wow.
People are drawn to you. I'm not trying to flatter you.
I'm blessed.
That's just
Thank
the
you.
reality.
I'm blessed by these words.
And I want to talk to you about that. Were you always a unicorn?
Yeah, probably.
Since your mother's womb?
Since the womb. Yeah, since my mother's womb. No, I only say that because I've heard, people have said similar things in the past, and I feel grateful. I don't know fully what that means, but I feel grateful for that. It always feels like a compliment. So
yeah, I like it.
Yeah, but probably a lot of it probably came from my dad because of who he was.
I love it.
Yeah.
Give me some highlights from your upbringing, your story.
Yeah.
How you met Jesus, because let's be real, Jesus makes you pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, 100%. Also, do I look at you or kind of both?
You know what? There's a lot of people listening more than watching.
Oh, okay.
So
okay, perfect.
You do whatever you want.
Okay, sounds good.
By the way, y'all, this is not a Valentine's Day edition. If you're watching, we got roses all over this house because I just happened to throw my husband the most epic birthday party.
It looked beautiful.
Thank you,
It
Carter.
looked beautiful.
You kindly declined.
Yeah, I was so bummed. That was heartbreaking for me.
So if you are watching, this is not The Bachelor.
Yeah. No.
This is also not Valentine's Day. This is just my house full of roses. But yeah, tell me about your story.
So growing up, both of my parents were pastors pretty much ever since I could remember. So I was a PK. I had an incredible experience being a PK. I loved being a pastor's kid. And I think a lot of it was because the churches were really good to me. And I met all of my best friends in the churches, and I loved being a staff kid and kind of having inside access to the churches. And so I loved being a pastor's kid. I got saved. I say I got saved when I was a freshman because I was probably morally a believer in elementary school. And then I hit my rebellious phase a little early. went to Florida, got in some trouble, smoked some weed, some cigarettes. I told my girlfriend because I thought it was cool stuff.
Yeah.
She told her mom, who
no.
told my parents, who flew out to get me. So my trip was supposed to be 3 weeks there with some family friends. They flew out week 2.
There goes that PK life.
Yeah. They flew out week 2 to come get me, which, looking back, was one of the, pivotal acts of love that I had experienced as a kid, because in middle school, I grew such a hard heart for whatever, just because of sin.
Right.
And so I got big time trouble, 6 months of all these punishments. And then I broke up with my girlfriend at the end of 8th grade, and I was like such a sad person, full of anxiety, always overthinking everything at that time. And, like overthinking facial expressions and the tone of someone's voice and always rethinking conversations and digging these deep holes for myself that I would never be able to climb out of. And so that was when I decided, okay, maybe this Jesus stuff is worth giving a try. And my life was forever changed. And I feel like instilled me with a joy that I've had since. And, the way that I saw the world and people changed. Like I would walk down the hallways at school and all of a sudden it was the strangest thing. It was like I was seeing the insides of hearts and what people are probably going through, rather than just the outside appearance or like their faces and God gave me a heart for people, and I've never looked back. So I was kind of happy that I guess I got the rebellious season out early. Most of my friends went through that later in high school. So yeah.
I know that there was a lot of discipleship impact there for you.
Yeah.
Just even hearing stories from your life in previous years. Tell me about that, just even the importance of discipleship in like a young person's life and how that marked you early on.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it is because of my dad, first of all, because he was a hands-on teacher with me. So he would walk me through so many situations in life.
That is incredible.
Everything. He would tell me how to confront a friend who was in sin. Wow. So I would talk with him and I'd tell him, hey, this is going on. And he said, well, this is how you're going to approach it. And then he would be the one to force me to go do that.
Wow.
So my dad was an amazing teacher to me. And so I think it started with him, and he was the one who also gave me such a love for communication, just because he again taught me, okay, you want to quit the football team, you need to go talk to your coach and tell him that. I'm not going to do that for you. And so making me have all these hard conversations. Wow. Hey, you treated someone poorly, you need to go apologize to them. And so he was so good at that. Like I remember one time I said a racist joke to someone that I thought was really funny. And his reaction, the man that I told this joke, my dad pulled me aside afterwards and he said, hey, did you see his face? Like when you said that was really hurtful. Like you need to think about how other people would receive that. And then he said, you need to go apologize to him.
Wow.
So these moments formed me and helped me realize that things do need to be taught. And then growing up in the church that I was at in Idaho, their church, when we got there, was 5,000 people, and it grew from discipleship. So they grew the whole church from small groups, and their motto was like reaching the world for Jesus one person at a time. So the system was discipleship. That was the priority, was relationship, which I think also formed my mind. And then people who came along the way who poured into me And when I look back at my life and I think about all these wonderful moments that I had with the Lord, I think of the people who created space for that, or like God's love through someone else to me. And even my youth pastor, I had the same youth pastor all throughout high school, which was a blessing, because a lot of people don't experience that. And he was so good to me, and he didn't just preach to me, but taught me. And oh my gosh,
Sorry,
cute.
my cat is in the room.
So cute. What's up, buddy? He was so intentional with me that it changed my life. And I knew, okay, there's a reason why this is the call that Jesus gives.
Yeah.
Because a sermon can change someone's life, because God can speak to someone through a message, but really we need to be formed, which takes so much time, takes so much effort. Yeah. And so I think it was the people who did it for me that helped me realize how important this was.
Really quick to backtrack though. First of all, how did you feel so safe with your father? Because I feel like in a world, especially being a pastor's kid, there's often that temptation to hide, to keep things from our parents. But what was it? Like, what was that safety that your dad created for you that allowed you to?
Yeah, I think my dad, who has gone through so much in his life and is still walking through some things now, he was an amazing father to me. And he showed me so much love. He was very vocal about his love towards me. I have friends who haven't heard their fathers tell them they love them. My dad always would tell me that. And he would always tell me that he was proud of me. And I think these little experiences that I had with him built a trust in my mind to share things with him. Wow. And he never reacted. I mean, we would get into it for sure, like all parent and kid relationships, but there were times where I would confess things to him, and he would, like, I remember when I was driving with him one day, and I was so weighed down because I had been looking at pornography, and it was such a secret, and I had felt so much shame. And I remember telling my dad, "Can you pull over?" And I told him, I'm like, I've been looking at pornography, and he gave me so much love. Like he just gave me a hug and was like, it's okay. We'll figure this out. Don't worry about this. And this isn't who you are, and it's going to be okay. We'll get through this together. So I think those little moments created in my heart and in my mind, this is a trustworthy person. I can trust his guidance and his heart for me. So I owe that to him. Wow.
I just think this is so inspiring for the parents that watch, especially with teenagers, and becoming that safe place for our children. I think you're right. Your dad was establishing something way before you could come to him. He was already establishing a foundation for that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That connection piece is so massive. That inspires me. And Thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wouldn't be who I am if it weren't for him. And he was always willing to have, I think he initiated so many uncomfortable conversations with me that it made me feel like, for example, he was the first person to ever tell me about sex. So he sat me down when I was 9 years old and walked through all of this with me. And that was my foundation because I had never heard of that word. I didn't know what it was. Yeah. So everything I heard afterwards, I compared to what he told me. So good. Which was huge for me because so many of my peers had heard about that in the locker room or at school or whatever. So I'm hearing it from my dad, but that's an example of these uncomfortable conversations he would have with me that made me feel like, okay, I don't need to be embarrassed about certain things that are happening in my life. And I'm forever grateful for my dad initiating a lot of those a lot of those moments
That's beautiful. I had no idea about how deep your dad's impact was on that discipleship part of you.
Yeah.
Because I've watched you give yourself to the younger generation. Like, you have chosen to step into these teenage guys' lives and worlds, and you're actually, because here's the thing about discipleship is, like, it's what you said, it takes so much time,
a lot of time. Yeah.
and in a culture that is so fast paced and we want to build platforms overnight, we are seeing like a loss of that in the church. So why are you still so passionate about discipleship?
I think that I have to remind myself of the heart of God. And I've been given even something like this, like the fact that you asked me to do this. There's, like, my voice is being heard right now. There's the camera right there. And other times maybe I've been asked to host something or speak at something. And my first thought and prayer is God, you know, thank you so much for this. Continue to renew my mind, to keep my mind in the right spot and in the right place. And I think the heart of God is a lot of times in the unseen, which is why I like to think of God as Father. A lot of fathers do things for their kids that no one will ever know about, but it has the most impact. All the things that happen in the home or behind closed doors. It's still, I'm not married. I don't have kids, but thinking about a kid doesn't have any memory of the first few years of their life, but yet the parent has to do so much for them. And it's a sacrificial thing, because you might not get a thank you until they're in their 20s. When they look back and they think, wow, Mom, Dad, you did a lot for me.
Or when they have their own kid and they're like, gosh,
exactly,
this is hard.
When they have their own kid. And so, but we are formed in the home. We're formed behind closed doors. We're formed in the conversations. We're formed in the moments, in the quiet moments. I'm formed in the moments where I'm sitting down in the sanctuary next to a leader who's having a difficult conversation with me. I am transformed in those moments. And I think that's the heart of God, which I have to constantly remind myself of is God, this was your heart, and you taught the crowds, you spoke to the crowds, but it seemed like there was always a desire for Jesus to get away, to be with the Father, or to be with his friends, or these men and these women that he was discipling. It seemed like that's where his heart was. Like, Jesus could have pursued even more fame than he had, and he was the most famous person at that time, and it's like, it still is the most famous person in history, and he could have pursued far more than that and given himself to that, but he didn't. He always wanted to get quiet and be with the people. So I think just reminding myself that this is the heart of God. And when I look back at the end of my life, I'm going to be thinking about, like, I think about, okay, I want to die at 100 years old exactly. And so when I'm 100 and hopefully, I pass away at the same time as my wife, and holding hands, notebook style, that would be fantastic. I'm going to be thinking about my life, and I'm going to be thinking about, I don't think the first memories that will come to mind are moments where I was able to speak. I think I'm going to think of the little moments with these kids and with my friends and with family. So if that is the most important thing to God, and at the end of my life that's going to be the most important, then why would I not give myself to all of that now? Wow. So I think it's that, and I'll say this, like, youth pastoring, I was able to preach a lot. There was nothing better than seeing a young person be changed in the small group environment and in the discipleship relationship. There was nothing better than that. Like, preaching did not compare to someone's life being changed behind closed doors that you've been texting and calling and going out with and working with and being there for them when they're struggling.
Wow.
That's where the true joy is.
Wow.
I mean, that is, and preaching didn't even compare. Mm-hmm. And I liked preaching.
You're an
Preaching is
amazing
fun. Preaching is
communicator.
fun. Yeah, thank you. But
I think it's so cool that you've actually, I think you're old enough to be able to look back and see some of that fruit.
Yeah.
Some of those, even those relationships of even the men that you chose to surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And do life with and grow with. I think isn't it so fruitful to look back and be like, wow, I can't believe it's been like 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of just what I've put into the ground, the seeds that I've put into the ground over and over again. Now I kind of get to see them come into fruition.
Oh my gosh.
I feel that way about your life.
Yeah.
Like Vic and I look here and we're like, we're so proud of that guy.
Oh my
just being able
gosh.
to champion
Yes.
the little seed that you do get to plant in people's lives.
Yeah. It's such an incredible feeling. There are a few greater feelings. I actually wanted to read this because this was a text that I had gotten by one of the students I had been with since he was in 6th grade, and he's in the Bible college now. But he texted me a few weeks ago and he said, hey Carter, I seriously just had one of the most monumental moments of my life with my 6th graders, where they opened up and we were all so vulnerable and God was moving tonight in that classroom. And almost all of the group, I was thinking what Carter was like to me when I was vulnerable, and how do I break down these walls with my guys with love. And it was totally just years seeing how you made me feel and treated all of us. Anthony told me the other night that I'm a product of your yes to God. And seriously, it's something that I'm so proud to be here, because if Anthony, who doesn't know me really well, could tell me that, it made me cry a little bit. And I just wanted to thank you for saying yes to God, showing me what it means to be a faithful servant and live like Jesus. You inspire me every day when you were, and even when you're gone and we haven't talked in a while, I aspire to be like you, and no one has ever had the influence and permanent mark on my life as you. I love you so much and will always be thankful for you. And I looked at that when I was driving. I got the text and I had to pull over because I was just crying so hard, because I was like, I can't even see, through my tears right now. And I only share that because that was, in all the years of serving in the church and helping out, it's like moments like that mean more than everything. The fact that I get this text and he was wanting to lead kids like I had led him. And what you were saying is so true. There's so much joy in that. There's nothing like it. Like it. It's the best thing in the world. And most of it, pretty much all of it is not on the stage. It's in moments where no one will ever see.
It's true. It's not on Instagram.
It's not on Instagram. Yeah. And so I just wanted to share that because it touched my heart so much. And I'm probably gonna frame it honestly, because it was like, this is it. This is all I want to do. is that so?
Yeah, that's so powerful. I think every young aspiring leader needs to hear this, Carter.
Cool.
To many more stories like it, because I find that first of all, championing and believing and investing into those people that God places in our lives, I over and over again, I have found that my greatest joy is what they do.
Yeah.
It's not what I do.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because I feel like, when they're doing it, I'm doing it with them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what mothering and fathering the next generation looks like. It's like our own parents when they're, when they look from the sidelines, all of the things that we're doing. And so I think spiritually, that's just how I feel when I when I see some of the people that I have impacted go way ahead and get, you know, whatever it is that God's called them to, any area of influence, I feel like I'm right there doing it with them because I have had sort of, you know, my skin in that game. And I love that. I think for you, you actually didn't know who you were discipling. I think the seeds that because you can't count, like you don't know how that young guy that texts you, you don't know his impact on those guys in the room and what they're going to do with that.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Which is so fun to think about. And I think what you're saying is so true. I think that's the heart of God, like to see, for him to see us step into what he's called us to, I know brings him so much joy.
Yeah.
And how much is it the same for us seeing these people that we've poured into walk into their calling and into their destiny. And I remember when I was in RA for the Bible college during my second year, I remember God asking me, if you never came out of this house and no one knew you were the RA, but all everyone experienced was these 9 guys that you're living with and the, you know, their fruit from the seeds that you planted, would you be okay with that? And I really felt like that would be an honor. That would be awesome. That would be awesome to because how much of that is Jesus, you know, for us. And so yeah, there's nothing better than seeing someone step into, you know, what they're called to and having a part to play in that.
Yeah. Wow.
It's the best.
That's what makes you a unicorn, Carter. It's you making other people great.
Thank you.
I love that. Can you tell me maybe something that you've learned from the next generation? Because they are a whole nother breed.
They are a whole nother breed.
And uniquely developed that, I mean, you probably can relate more. For me, I'm like, oh my gosh, they think so differently.
Oh yeah.
Maybe something that you've learned from the next generation that has impacted you personally.
I think, because I was thinking about this question, and the first thing that came to my mind was, I've learned that it's a little easier than we think.
They're not as complicated as we think.
Yeah, what I mean by that is one small act of intentionality goes a very long way.
Wow.
I think for a young person, you naturally look up to those who are older than you.
Yeah.
It's funny because when you get older, you kind of despise the previous generation or the previous season. You get into high school and it's like, ugh, middle schoolers, so disgusting. And then you get into college and it's like, oh my gosh, high school students, such idiots. And then you get out of college and you're in your late 20s and you go, those young adults are so dumb. Like, so dumb, so immature. And so, but when you're younger, you look up to, I mean, your hands are open to the people who are older than you. And when I went to a new school in 8th grade, this one senior came by when he met me and he goes, dude, you are so cool. And I melted, honestly. I was like, wow, that guy thinks I'm cool. Like, this senior thinks I'm cool. And it was that one sentence that made me feel that way.
Wow.
So I think with these younger kids, noticing them and going out of your way to remember their name and saying a hi to them or texting them on their birthday or calling them on their birthday or whatever it is, these little acts go so much further than we would think. And so that was something that I took away. And it's the same for me in my life. If someone, one small act of intentionality is all it takes for me to know, wow, that person's kind. Yeah. I felt loved by this person. Yeah. And so I think it's easier than we make it more complicated than it needs to be when it comes to loving in pouring into those who are younger than us.
Yeah. So good. Wow. You're so wise.
Oh, wow.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for serving the next generation. My daughter, who is 12 years old, is so inspired by Carter. She has a passion for communication. So she's always watching, what makes great communicate. I mean, this girl is like fired up about.
She's so good.
But you are someone that deeply inspires her. I think one of her dreams is to be in a communication class with you.
Oh, that would be awesome. I would love that.
Oh,
I would love that. If I could be a part of London's journey in any way with that, that would be, that's pinnacle stuff right there.
Yeah, she's very passionate about law. She takes me to court daily.
Wow.
Like, I don't know how I end up in a courtroom every day with some of the conversations that I'm trying to have. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
I want to know maybe of a season that felt really stretching or challenging for you, specifically in your faith. Because even though you grew up, in a pastor's home and grew up in the church, I think all of us, we get to this place where our faith is tested and we actually discover what is, what's not our parents' faith, what's our faith.
Oh yeah.
And in that journey, how did you work through that? I actually don't even know what that was for you. So maybe you could.
Well, I think the last 4 years really have been an interesting set of years.
Okay.
Because
an interesting set of years.
Yeah. And I think I battled a lot with what am I doing with my life? Mm-hmm. And am I doing anything with my life? And
feel ya.
And especially in America with social media, you think, oh my gosh, I should have a business by now. Like I should have all this money. I'm 27. Holy Moses. I remember when I turned 25, that was the first time I felt like my first birthday where I thought, oh my gosh, this is my life. What am I doing here with my life? But I will say, to go back even to what we were talking about before, I knew whatever season I'm in, whatever work looks like, whatever it's like, I need to make sure I always do two things. And that is spend time with the Lord and love on people.
Wow.
If I can do those two things, every season will be worth having.
Wow. And
there will still be fruit. Because some people aren't sure what they're supposed to do, so they resort to laziness. And then it's like nothing is happening. But if you can love people well and grow with the Lord and grow with people, I think I was farther than I thought I was to what really matters to God,
right?
Which is these things. And so when I had stepped down from being a youth pastor, and that was 4 years ago, that was when kind of this interesting set of years started. Because I thought all throughout high school, I want to be a youth pastor when I grow up. I was terrible in school because I never did any of my homework, because I'm like, why do math if I'm just going to be a pastor? Total regret. My number one regret in high school is not doing my homework, because I was so deceived, to think that I was representing Jesus, but having C's and D's. That is deception. That is deception. That Jesus doesn't work hard. Oh man. Anyways, so when I graduated and the church asked me if I wanted to be youth pastor, I said, yeah, I'll pray about this, but I didn't pray about it. It was like, yes, which I kind of regret. I should have taken some more time. Anyway, I got into it too quickly, to be honest. And so 2 years later, I think this sucks. Like, this is so much harder than I thought it was going to be. I'm so trash at admin. I like all this stuff that I have to do. I just thought I was going to be hanging out with kids.
Yeah.
That's what it was in my mind. How much of a lie I believed. And
wasn't as glamorous.
And so, I thought, what do I love most about this job? Well, I love knowing all the kids, spending time with them, and doing small group stuff. So I can do that as a volunteer.
Okay.
So let me try some other things.
Okay.
So I step down, and then I enter into this, these last 4 years of, I'm trying to start a business with the communication class. I'm working on some creative stuff with my best friend Nathan, and I'm working this job in a warehouse where I'm packaging and shipping out shoes every single day. And I'm trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do?
You forgot emceeing.
Oh yeah.
All the important weddings.
emceeing, yes, 100%. Excuse me. I'm emceeing all these weddings as well that so grateful to be able to do. And I'm trying to figure out, man, I love doing this. Like, I love being creative. I love teaching communication more than anything. Honestly, it's probably one of my greatest passions in the world. I love discipling kids. Maybe I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur. Maybe I'm supposed to, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. And this was tough for me. This was tough on me mentally.
Yeah.
At times I felt like a failure. At times I felt like I was wasting time. At times I felt like I was a little bit of a loser, and which are all lies. But I think in the midst of that, these last 4 years trying to figure all this out and having some seasons where it felt dead, like I don't know what it is that I'm doing. And for me, the most important thing was that I had to realize, okay, I have to do, number one, what I feel like I'm supposed to do in each season. So if it doesn't make any sense, like I still need to try to, I thought it was right for me to step down, so I did. And maybe I would have done that differently looking back, but at the time I thought it was the right decision. And so, but I think what helped me through these last 4 years was I knew I was going to regret everything if I looked back and thought I didn't even grow with the Lord.
Yeah.
That was scary to me. That was scary because I knew that at some point I was going to know what it is I was called to do. And I'm wrestling with this right now, but I'll know at some point.
Yeah.
And when I find out, I look back and I wasted spiritual, like if I wasted time spiritually, I will feel so much regret.
Yeah.
And I will be so much less prepared for whatever it is that's to come. Because God wants to mold me now and form me now and do something in me now and in my character. And if I miss out on that,
so good.
That's gonna really suck. That's gonna really suck. And all these heroes in the Bible, I had to remind myself, okay, all these people in the Bible that we look up to, they were away for years doing nothing. Even Jesus himself. So he's 30 years old. And so who am I to think, oh, I'm 25, I should be doing this by now? No, these our heroes had so much quiet time, and I even thought to myself, maybe I should start a podcast or something. And then I thought, I'm only 20. I'm only like 25 years old at that time when I had thought about that. I don't even have that much experience. Like I don't even. Do I feel like I have some decent things to say? Yeah, but do I want to try to force myself in the limelight of these things at this age when it's like, I don't, and I do want to say if someone feels called to do that, it's important. It's so important to do that. But for me at that time, at my age, I thought I need to take advantage of this quiet season that God has gifted me, or this season of wrestling. And when I come out of this, I will be grateful for having spent time with him and pouring into people. I'll never regret that.
Let me set you free.
Perfect.
I'm still on that journey, figuring out what I want to do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Right.
The beauty of that, I feel like a few years ago, the Lord kind of started sharing this with me, and I just resolved in my heart that the will of God is so much less about what we're doing and so much more about who we're becoming. And in that, I realized, wow, I can do what the world defines as success, or aka the church world, or I can do what's forming me to become like the Lord, to become who he wants me to be.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
It's so beautiful because it's an ever evolving adventure.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You're trying new things, and you're trusting the Lord and all of it. I think there's a dependency there that if I knew what I was supposed to do for the rest of my life, I wouldn't need him. I'd just be fully dependent on what he's already said. But there is this trust and dependency. And so I think it's so beautiful. I think that it's beautiful when God gives us, I think there is a kind of a rhythm that I've seen where there are seasons of like manifestation where God is like actively doing something in us and through us, and we're like, yeah, like I'm doing this, you know, I'm youth pastoring and it's successful and it's amazing. And then there's seasons of hiddenness and we're like, what the heck is wrong with my life? Like, I am not seen. This is, you know, and you're starting to question something that actually God is doing in that dark room. He's developing something in you. And so I think it's so true. I think it's wonderful that you're struggling, and not struggling, but wrestling with that, because I think struggle, wrestle, I think all of us need that so much, because it creates this tension in our lives that we actually don't have it figured out. Yeah. And so it's so true. I'm on this end thinking, you know, well, I did start the podcast, but I'm ever like, I think this has been a phenomenon, because I've watched God tell me over and over again, Stasia, it's not what you do, it's who you are. In whatever platform and place that I've put you, whatever, you know, room, whether it's the 1 or it's the 500, I'm trying to do something in you so that you can become the message for the people. And so I think it's actually beautiful. I think we need to talk about that tension more, because I think so many of us like, I figured it out, you know, I have this platform of whatever influence, and now I know exactly what I'm doing. Like, well, I don't know if that's the goal. No, it's so good. And I think for myself, I try to, in every situation, ask, what is the heart of God here compared to the heart of the world? And God's heart is always like what you were saying, becoming more like him. Like, this is his heart for me in every season, no matter what it is that I'm doing, no matter what it is that we're doing. His heart is that I grow and become more like him. That kind of gives a little bit of peace, because then you think, oh, well, I can do that in any season. Whether I'm in a warehouse packaging shoes or I'm preaching every week at the youth group, the God who's with me here is still with me here. I can be formed. It really is dependent on my openness to formation. So good. Let's go. Okay, but speaking of formation, you do have an incredible gift of communication. Thanks. And not just to communicate, but to teach and impart that gift, because I think I love people that have gone through some of the stuff that you teach were forever changed by I think number one, you're like hype man, you're like encourager. I think you make people come alive in a room because you believe in them so much, and they feel that. Absolutely. So talk to me about, where did you learn your gift of communication? Well, yeah, I appreciate you asking this. I love communication, teaching it even more than I love to communicate, and especially interpersonal communication. Like, I can't tell you how often I think, I'm so sorry, I probably should blow my nose, or maybe a napkin or a Kleenex or something. Absolutely. Sorry about that. Should I just continue? Yeah. Oh, okay, right on. They're cool with that. Yeah. No longer afraid. But I think so often about
teaching young people how to talk to people.
Yeah.
It comes to my mind every single day. Conversations and the communication that we have with people throughout the day.
Love it.
How to get young people to start learning how to be able to talk to others, especially because they're plugged away at all these screens. And so, but again, to go back to my dad, he was the one who instilled this into me. He was the one who would teach me how to confront these situations and how to deal with them. And so it was in me because of him. And amazing, thank you.
We got you.
And appreciate it. And I remember, in fourth grade, I had this crush on this girl, and she had a crush on me. And
did she now?
Yeah, she did. And I don't mean to say this in like a type of way, but a lot of the guys liked her, and a lot of the girls were kind of crushing on my Justin Bieber hair at the time. And so us being together caused a lot of distress within the community of
fourth grade.
Yeah. And so much so, there was so much drama and rumors being spread around that our recess lady had to contact my mother and say they need to break up because this is causing too much stuff. So my dad was the one who encouraged me, hey, you should talk to the class about it. So I go, okay, yeah. And so I asked my teacher, my fourth grade teacher, hey, can I say something to the class before we start? She said yes. So I walk up in front of the class right after recess and I say, hey, everyone, this relationship that I have with Rachel is just ours. It's not any of yours. It's not any of yours. So if all of you can leave us alone, that would be amazing. Or else I'm going to be really frustrated.
Communication 101.
Communication 101, be honest. And so it really cooled down after that. It really cooled down. And I tell this, this story to the communication class of all these kids used to call me Carter the Farter in school. And it really hurt my feelings. I mean, now I could give two rips. I'd laugh. I mean, I don't care what, anyone thinks, I guess, about that. But I went to in front of the class and I told them, I said, this really hurts my feelings when you guys call me Carter the Farter. Can you please stop?
You did not.
Yeah. And it stopped. Which
you were really emotionally healthy as a child.
Yeah. Which thank God for my father, because he would always, to go back to even the football story, when I wanted to quit football, and my dad said, if you want to do this, you're going to have to tell the coach. Mm-hmm. And I'm crying, can you please tell him? Can you please do it? He goes, no, you have to tell the coach. And the year before that, we had a play in school. I wanted the lead role. I ended up getting the lead role. It was our first night of the performance. I freaked out. I got so nervous. I started crying, begging my parents to take me home. I was really freaking out. So they took me home, and my teacher had to read the lines for me for that night of the performance.
The lead role?
The lead role. And so the next night we had another performance, and I wanted another chance. Yeah. And so my dad said, you got to ask the kids. Mm-hmm. Like if you want another chance, you need to go apologize, and you need to ask for their forgiveness, and if you can do it. So he made me walk right in there in front of the whole class and apologize to them and say, if you guys are okay with it, can I give it another try tonight? Which of course they were all cool with. And so
I love it.
It was my dad, and seeing him in church with all these people, he knew everyone's names and knew the background of the lives of these people, and he knew their friends and their family, and he was so loved because of that. Wow. So seeing him and having him teach me those things, and I know I mentioned it earlier, but even, hey, my friend, we just found out that my friend was doing stuff with his girlfriend. What do I do? Mm-hmm. Okay, this is how you approach this. Wow. You need to confront it. Wow. In gentleness and strength. This is how you're going to do it. Yeah. And so all of that, I started to realize as I was growing up, I'm seeing things that some other people aren't seeing. And it's all because of my dad.
Yeah.
Because he opened my eyes to what's necessary in communication, relationally. And so that gave me the heart. And then when I was youth pastoring, seeing all these kids who were dealing with so much social anxiety, and realizing they don't know how to talk to people, and they're too nervous to do so. This is going to destroy their lives. Because even if you're the smartest person in the world, if you don't know how to talk with people, it's going to be a struggle.
100%.
On the other end, even if you're not the smartest person in the room, if you can communicate well with people, it's going to be the best thing for your life.
Facts.
You'll get a lot of open doors if you can talk with people and be relational with people.
Yeah.
And so I'm so sorry, I forgot the question.
You know what? It was all about your gift of communication.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I kind of did answer that.
No,
then.
You did.
Okay, perfect.
It's incredible. I think that it's really easy to look at people that do communication well or have people skills and say that it just comes naturally to them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And okay, want to hear something funny?
Yes. Always.
When Vic and I started talking, he would Google questions to ask me.
I love that.
Because he didn't know how to hold a conversation.
Wow.
And he was so afraid of the awkward silence in between.
Wow.
That he Googled all these questions and he printed the document. He would go in his car and talk to him. And I appreciate him for that.
Yes.
Because now, you know
it's
what?
Intentional.
He's the best question asker.
Yep. He's so intentional.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I think of this when I pull up to the church and I know I'm going into 2 services. I mean, it's going to be people land for the next few hours. Mrs. Introvert has to prepare herself.
Got to.
And, I know what's natural to me is just to sit back and just be and not engage. But I choose to prepare in the car. Stasia, you're going to go in there. You are going to make people feel so loved and so valued. This is good. And you're going to notice things about them.
Yeah.
And so I hype myself up all the time. Same thing with big parties where I'm I come in, I'm actually pretty awkward. Yeah. But people don't know that because I've just chosen to work through that. Yeah. So we need some communication tools. Help us out here.
I mean, what you just said is great. What you said is great. You gotta do that. For
all you introverts out there, especially.
Yeah, especially if you're tired or exhausted and you still have to be with people, the pep talking is a necessity. It really is. Getting on your knees and crying out to the Lord. God, I need the supernatural energy right now because
I love it.
I gotta connect with these people.
Yeah.
I need it, and so. But I would say number one, because you said tips.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number one, I try my best in everything from the communication classes, all through the lens of communication being all about others. And I try to teach through the lens of Philippians chapter 2, where it talks about having the same attitude as Christ, where he came down and lowered himself. And he served us. He valued us ahead of himself. And he did everything that he could to love us and serve us. And even, when Paul says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in everything value others more than you value yourself. And I find if I can look at life through that lens, communication becomes a lot easier. Because then it becomes all about the other person rather than what I'm thinking about myself. So a lot of insecurities and nerves will actually fall away the less we think about ourselves and the more we think about others. Whether I'm at a coffee shop or whether I'm talking to hundreds of people, same type of mindset.
Love it.
Communication is always about the other person, always about others. if I think like that, I'll be more likely to ask good questions, maybe notice more of what they're saying, or notice something about them that I wouldn't have noticed if I was thinking about myself. Like if I can walk into a room and think about, wow, look at all these amazing people, rather than what are all these people thinking about me, my communication will automatically be better, because I'll be on a treasure hunt to find out why God created these people. Like God values you so much, so I want to do the same. And if you value someone more than you value yourself, you automatically, you place them in a higher regard, so you treat them differently.
Right.
And that's why even when it comes to something like remembering names, we make it more complicated than it is. A lot of people will say I'm bad at remembering names. I don't believe that's true.
Yeah.
Because if you meet someone who you think is hot stuff, you're going to remember their name. Like if you meet someone who you think is a 10 out of 10,
yeah,
and they're looking hot, they're looking good,
okay,
you're not going to forget their name. Why is that? Well, because in your mind, you see them highly because of how good you think they look.
Yeah.
So if we see everyone highly, and if we look at everyone the way that God looks at them,
let's go,
we'll be way more likely to remember their names.
Wow.
And because we see this 10 out of 10 good looking person the same as we do someone who maybe looks a little lower status wise. And so that has helped me in communication in every single situation, is trying my best and praying, God, help me see them the way that you see them, and help me put them ahead of myself, and show me what it looks like. What does love require for this person? Because every person is different, so there's no formula. Every person's in a different mood. Every person's dealing with something different in their life. The only person who knows exactly what this person needs is the Holy Spirit. So Holy Spirit, show me what love requires in this moment for this person, because it's not about me. And that has helped with my insecurities, because I used to be obsessed. I used to be addicted to what other people thought about me. So I had to cut those attachments that I had to all of these strangers, and to these people.
Tell me more. You're on the No Longer Afraid podcast.
Oh yeah, perfect.
That's
where I am right now.
Huh?
That's where I am. Shoot. Come on.
So you had the fear of man.
Oh, hardcore. Yeah, hardcore.
Really?
Yeah. The biggest thing was, I grew up as a really silly kid.
Yeah.
Really goofy kid, loud, energetic, always talking. Like my grandma said, this guy's either going to preach or he's going to be a lawyer. And probably what you say about London, Yeah. And so, but I ran into deception, because I wanted to be a man, and I wanted to be a leader. And in my mind, I thought, well, leaders aren't goofy and leaders aren't silly, and true men aren't actually that emotional. And I would cry all the time as a kid. I mean, all the time I would cry.
Yeah.
So I thought, I want people to see me this way. And so I need to change some things about my personality to sort of calm some stuff down.
Dang.
And I think it really rooted from 8th grade. I was in a play, and I was a girl in the play. I dressed up in a dress, and I was a girl. I crushed it. Like, it was hilarious, honestly. I knew it was going to be funny. But I felt like some of the older guys were a little like kind of making fun of it a little bit. And I don't know if this is true, but this is just how I felt in the moment. I felt like my dad was a little embarrassed because it was at the school, the church and stuff. And his son is up there dressed as a girl for the joke of this play. And all I wanted to do growing up was make people laugh, so I didn't care at all. But ever since then,
wow,
I had a hard time with being myself, because I thought, I want my dad to see me as a man. I want other people to see me as a man. And so I would try my best to never cry. You know, if I felt like I was going to cry in a movie, like I'd watch Forrest Gump and I'd always cry when he's at Jenny's grave. Spoiler, I guess. And so I'd go in the bathroom to cry because I didn't want anyone to see. And so I wanted to be cool and all this. And, but when I came to California, that was the shift, because I wanted to control my reputation, because I was in a new place with new people that I had never met before.
Yeah.
And so I wanted people to see me as a leader. I wanted people to see me as a man. And so I had all this weight and this pressure on myself. And then something broke during the retreat. Wow. And Tracy came over to me. He's like, dude, what's wrong? And it was the presence of God that was doing something in me. And I start crying. It was like the first time. It felt like 5 years of crying that I hadn't had, because I would never want to cry.
Wow.
And it all came out. I mean, I was blowing snot, like it was one of the, and Tracy gives me a hug, and it was like one of the most, this may sound a little weird, but it was like one of the most intimate hugs I've ever had, because I felt like, wow, this guy's hugging me in my ugliest moment. Wow. You know, and so that's where Tracy and I became so close and such good friends. Something broke off there spiritually, where I thought, you know what, I don't care what anyone thinks about me. I don't need to be a leader. I don't need to be whatever. I'm just going to be myself. Yeah. If whatever happens. So beautiful. I started, you know, dancing again and not caring what anyone thinks, because I would always, you know, care like, oh, people are gonna, I'm dancing like people are watching, you know. that's how I would dance. And oh my god. And so I stopped caring, and I thought, you know what, if I gotta cry, I'm gonna cry. And I still cry to this day, probably 3 times a week at least. I mean, anything. It could be literally anything. A happy moment in a movie. I watched The Holiday the other day. I cried 4 times.
You remind me of my husband.
I mean, I was, you know, gone.
I love it.
What was so funny, changed my mind forever, is that everyone saw me as the person that I had wanted to be seen like. Yeah. Once I let go of all of that. So people are looking. Wild? People are looking to me, you know, even being able to be an RA, and it's like being able to lead certain things, and people are looking to me as a leader, and I thought, wow, I was so deceived. And then even really understanding what's God's definition of manhood compared to the world's definition of manhood. And that was huge for me to understand. Like, I think God's number one desire for us as men is to love when it's difficult to love. Wow. Because Christ, you know, loves as he loved the church. That's how we're called to love as men. Yeah. Which is an unconditional type of love, and which means that we have self-control, and we're able to make right decisions. We're able to do difficult stuff even when we don't want to. Right. And also changing my definition of courage. I thought courage was to shove everything down and to like, oh, this is me being tough. Like, non-emotional people think they're tough. Yeah. It's like, actually, you are afraid. Yeah. You're more afraid than I am. Yeah. Which shows like more weakness, because you think that showing your emotion, people are going to think differently about you. So now you don't want to show any emotion. Come on. That is not courage in the eyes of God. That's courage in the eyes of the world. And so I realized, oh, courage is vulnerability. Courage is being myself in every situation, not giving 2 rips about what other people may think. Wow. Compared to the Lord. That's beautiful. Set me free, thank God. You know, it's interesting. Yeah. The gospel is actually returning who we were supposed to be at creation. Yeah. Yeah. And I think this childlike, to live in this childlike wonder, to not have this awareness, this, you know, wrong awareness of
how we're being perceived and if we're liked and all of these things. I think it's actually brilliant that you said that about courage, because I think for me, in my journey of being no longer afraid, it's really peeling back the layers to find the real me. Courage is actually discovering who you really are. It's going back and giving yourself permission to be that child again. And that's what the kingdom of God is. I think it's fascinating, because we think growing up to be Christ-like, to be mature, is like this really serious journey, where all along it's actually to become like a child again.
It which is such a powerful experience and journey to be able to let go of what we once held so tightly to, and to be a kid again at heart, but yet wise in the mind, and strong in the mind, and to become like Jesus in every way. And Jesus, kids are so easy to forgive. They're and that you see that in the life of Jesus.
For
like
sure.
He was a forgiver.
Yeah.
And so I know, wow, if I'm hanging on to like unforgiveness, this is not childlikeness. This is
so true.
This is
and they're so dependent. And I think we just can never graduate dependency. Living dependent on the Holy Spirit as we go through life. And beautiful, Carter.
It's good stuff.
Just good stuff. Okay, tell me one thing that might surprise people about you.
I had a hard time thinking about this. I guess the flower bouquet thing. I really love putting together flower bouquets.
I love that.
I guess that.
I love that.
I get excited when I go to Trader Joe's and see all the new flowers, the new season. Like, there's so much to do here.
Your creative juices start flowing.
This is incredible. This is incredible. And I owe it to, my girlfriend's best friend, who she was teaching me stuff.
Okay. She was teaching you all the floral.
Yeah. And I told my girlfriend the other day, I thought, I never would have expected to love this so much. Like, I get excited to do these flowers for you because it's so many different combinations.
I love it.
It's incredible.
You know what? You should take Vic on a Trader Joe's date.
I would love that.
And show him.
I would love it.
Infuse that passion into him.
I'll just send him some photos of whatever I did the month before. Send him some photos.
It's okay. I just I buy the flowers, I take a photo, and I say, my love, thank you so much. I feel so loved by you right now.
That's powerful.
It is, he does so many other things so well. So I'll just help him out with this one once in a while.
He does. Vic is.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, I'm thankful for this incredible, deep, emotional, funny. Give me something funny. Give me something funny right now. I'm going to put you on the spot. Because tonight you're about to host one of the most important nights of the year for Kingdom Movement. It's our honor night.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm so pumped.
Yeah.
I mean, I could give you your introduction that I'll be doing for you guys.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
Okay, give it to me.
All right, we got Vic and Anastasia here. Let's give it up for them.
Woo!
Vic almost couldn't make it tonight because he accidentally scheduled the YouTube live stream earlier this evening of his new series called Go Away, Baldy, Go Away. Caption reading, join me for a 23-week study on 2 Kings 2, 23 through 25 as we chit-chat about whether or not Elisha cursing those young boys was inside or outside the will of God. And if it was outside the will of God, does that mean that we have the power to curse others despite the desires of God? We'll also be taking a look at paralleled stories of Ananias and Sapphira, Noah cursing his son for walking in on him getting naked, and other stories of ill-advised cursings. Ladies, let me tell you something in here. You need to find yourself a man who loves you as much as Vic loves his Bible. Legend has it that Anastasia started her No Longer Afraid podcast because not that she wasn't no longer afraid, but because Vic grew a deep-rooted fear for how much he loved his Bible. Rumor has it that he would wake up in the wee hours of the night sweating, panting, and clamoring for that sweet, sweet holy book. I feel very similar to this situation, as I myself have been afraid of intimacy with the Lord. When people would ask me, why don't you pray? Why don't you worship? Why don't you read your Bible? Because I had gone 4 years without doing any of those things. Well, I told them, well, it's not because of laziness or misplaced priorities or an addiction to distraction. No, it was because I was afraid of how much I would love prayer, worship, and reading my Bible. But now, thanks to the No Longer Afraid podcast, I am no longer afraid of intimacy with the Lord, as I just started my 365-day intimacy plan of 1 verse a day, 1 thank you a day, and 1 chorus a day. You have been honored.
Wow. Did you memorize all that?
Yeah. Try to,
I am impressed. There you go. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Tried to memorize all of them, so hopefully I'll keep my phone handy if.
Oh, Carter, once again, thank you.
Thank you. This is my first podcast. I gotta say that.
Are you serious?
This is the first time I was asked to do something like this, and
the first of many.
I this is a great first podcast time.
It is
to do it with you, Anastasia.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm honored that you would join me.
I'm honored that I was able to join.
Of season 3. You know, season 3 was decided because you came.
Wow.
I was like, I don't know if I have energy for this in 2025, but then you decided to show up, and I said, let's do this.
Isn't God so powerful?
We have energy.
So good.
So good. Thank you all for watching. We will see you next time. Thank you.